I served as the Thurston County Auditor for 12 years before I ran for a statewide office. And the job duties at the county level are very similar to the job duties of this office, and mainly running elections and keeping the county's historic records, which dovetails nicely into two of the four parts of the Secretary of State's office, overseeing elections and the state archives. And they were really the things I love to do, and so the opportunity presented itself, and I ran and won in 2012. My husband and I spent 2 years in Germany, and he was in the Army, and we were stationed at Fort Lewis in the early 90s, and I got a job at the Thurston County Auditor's Office as the Assistant Recording Manager, which was overseeing the county records. So when you record a deed of trust, it goes into the public record, and that was my job, was overseeing that, and really enjoyed it. And in 1993 became the county elections director, and that really was the position that I found my passion and calling, and really enjoyed the work. Spent about close to 10 years being that election manager director position. In 2001, when Sam Reed decided to run for Secretary of State and won in the 2000 election, I went for the appointment for Thurston County Auditor and won the appointment, and then was elected 4 times. So I served for 12 years as the auditor, and loved the job, just a lot of fun. And at that level, it really was overseeing the county finance, county elections, the vehicle licensing, and recorded documents, and just a very good job, and a lot of fun. And then in 2012, when Sam Reed decided to retire from Secretary of State, I decided to run for his seat again, and was elected. Part of the occupational hazard of working in elections and then becoming an elected official is you have to enjoy politics. And I think for the vast majority of citizens that politics is something that you watch every 4 years when the presidential race happens, and the rest of the time you kind of stay away from it. But I really enjoy policy making professionally, and I enjoy politics in my off time, because it's fun. It's fun to be in the middle of that discussion. What is the best course of our country? What is the best course for our state? How should we be using those tax dollars? And that part I've always found fascinating. And the politics of it, of course, is, do you do it in a more Democratic way or a more Republican way? And just having some of those ideas that you have, from your 20s about how the world should be, and now I'm in my 50s, and just challenging some of those fundamental beliefs to their core. Do I really believe this is the best way to solve the problem? I just enjoy, that's what I enjoy about politics, I think, is really talking to people who have very different political views and points of view, and considering it, and then figuring out where you are on that spectrum.
One of your main focuses is to allow 17-year-olds to pre-register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that something that...
Well, this is a topic that I had conversations with Democrats and Republicans for the better part probably of 6 years, and it's definitely a national discussion as well. And it really started with a couple bills 5 years ago that were 16 and 17-year-old pre-registration. And I've never been able to support those because 16 is problematic from my perspective. First of all, by the time the 16-year-old getting their driver's license is going to be old enough to vote, it's 2 years. And that data, their address, where they live, is probably going to be old, because by the time they turn 18, that's the point when they're the most mobile, and they're getting a job, they're going off to college. So I'm concerned that by the time we can actually use the data, it won't be as relevant. The second thing is probably more worrisome to me, because not every 16-year-old gets a driver's license. And I'm afraid that we would be really isolating and really kind of missing an opportunity to get all of those students. So when we were looking at this legislative session, I was trying to see if there could be maybe a common ground for Republicans and Democrats where we could still be trying to tap into young people. For me, it's about getting them to see the connection of civic engagement. So most 17-year-olds are in high school still. So if we had some sort of connection to social studies teachers or the high schools themselves and had, say, a senior voter registration day or good citizenship and temperance day, where you start making the connection for that 17-year-old that your voice matters. And participating in this election is your opportunity to pick the people who represent you in various levels of government. And if we can make that connection, get them registered to vote, by the time they turn 18, they will be engaged and they'll be voting. Because one of the things that research shows and the data show is that 18 to 25-year-olds do not participate in elections very often. They have the lowest participation rate of any age group. And it's ironic to me, because that is a point in a young person's life where for the first time they're really responsible adults. They're adults legally. They have the most freedom they've ever had, and ironically, the one right that they have that's really important they don't tend to exercise. So I've really spent over 22 years trying to engage young people and get them involved and get them to see that it's important. So I think this bill, it kind of defines when a 17-year-old in this case person could pre-register. Our state constitution basically says as long as you're 18 by the election day, you can participate. And so right now we do have 17-and-a-half-year-olds who are pre-registering. But we really wanted to kind of formalize that and didn't think that a 6-month shift was really that significant, and really felt like Democrats and Republicans could kind of coalesce around that date. So we'll see. Right now, my 17-year-old pre-registration bill didn't get out of the House or the Senate, but there's a 16 and 17-year-old pre-registration bill that we're trying to amend to get the language to be 17. So it's a tough session, and we're going to see if we can move it forward. But I'm still optimistic.